Okay. Now that you've seen a farm attack on a care center, let's go see what else is around. Expropriation failure. Expropriation failure. I get it right at some point. Diamond of agricultural projects. So basically they probably took the cream of the crop of a farm, paid millions and millions for it, gave it to a bunch of black people that do not care one bit about farming, but they want the land, and now the place is running to the ground. Mind you, the only people that's actually like talking about it is the Front National. I think that is the people for the Afrikaans white people. So it's probably a very conservative party. They're doing the political stuff. They shouldn't really do the political stuff. They should actually try to do economic stuff for the Afrikaans people. It's much better. Maybe add some civil stuff on top of that, education and patriotism and love for your neighbor, that kind of stuff. These people help each other. At least they care. Most other people don't care. Ooh, so there's a big citrus estate. Let's see where this was. 560,000 citrus trees, oranges probably, and tangerines and stuff like that. 2,200 hectares. You're talking about 5,000 acres. 5,000 acres. An old farm. Really old. It's a very, very productive and profitable farm. So it's probably one of the first farms sold to the new government after the ANC took over. $400 million oranges. The world's biggest citrus estate at the time. World's biggest citrus estate at the time. There you go, 2001. Just a couple of years after it was bought over by the government, it is in ruin. It's in ruin, and its annual losses are more than what its annual profits were before. That is how bad it is being run. Basically, there's no productivity, and everybody involved in that whole project is getting some money from the government, getting subsidized somehow. Half of the trees are dead. Probably the other half isn't like delivering any good fruit, because they probably don't get enough water and they don't get pruned and all of that, and they get left in winter to freeze, get pruned badly. And now the whole thing is basically messed up. There you go, the biggest mango estate in South Africa back in the day. Same stuff. Totally bankrupt. There's another citrus and cattle farm. $25,000 hectare. Citrus and cattle farm. 25,000 hectare. You're talking 60,000 acre farm. Debt free. Is now a squatter camp. Debt free. And then there's a pig farm. No more pigs. And also just squatters. No more pigs and just squatters. South Africa used to have a really good export, like net export of stuff like meats and grains and things like that. I mean, we still have exports in the sense that we have grapes and fruits that gets exported to Europe. But in general, we're a net importer now of produce. You know, we used to be a net exporter. It's because of this crap, you know. All about improving racial imbalance. It's all fine to say you want to improve racial imbalance, but all you're doing is destroying the bloodline of the country. You know, choking its oxygen off to survive. White people work the land hard. They enjoy working the land. It's a difference. In South Africa, the government owns 25% of the land. As I told you, in that 25%, a lot of that land is the old black countries in South Africa. And that is some of the best soil you can ever see. Like really, some of these big farms that they're talking about here, if they were in that area where all of this land is of the South African government, they would be even like 3-4 times more productive. It is the best land in the country for farming. It's so rich, so good with water as well. The thing is, the government wants to take all the land. That is actually what it's about. It's a communist government. You know, I mean, their whole manifesto is nationalizing everything. They think it's going to be a utopia, you know. Utopia was sold to them by the old communist regimes in Russia and China, where they will stay in power and they will have everything under the control of the government, and they will control the government. There you go. See, none of that land is being distributed. In the meantime, they're just choking off agriculture and saying the white farmers have to go and give half of their farming productivity and profits to black people. You know, because all the other farms for black people are failing. That will fail as well, because that will put so much pressure on commercial farming in South Africa that people will just stop it. You know? People are already not interested in farming because of all the violence and crime related to living on a farm. Go and give it just a little bit of more of a push and they will just all leave. You know? Those are really hard working people. They'll just go work hard somewhere else. Sure, they won't get the cheap labor they get in South Africa, but in return what they'll do is they'll just automate their farming. You know, there's a lot of automation in farming that can be done, and they don't do it in South Africa specifically because they try to give people in South Africa work. There is a mass of people in South Africa totally uneducated, you know, and those people have nothing to do but the most menial, simple work, labor, physical labor. And you know, if South African farmers start automating everything, those people will not have any work, and that's it. You know, you can basically cut the workforce in South Africa by a third if you do that. Of the country, you know, farming and mining is by far the biggest employer in South Africa, exponentially bigger than anything else, because it uses so many hand laborers. You know, if you're going to go and take them all away by automating mining and farming, what are all those people going to do? The government's not going to look after them. The government's not going to improve their lives. The government's not going to give them education. The government can't give them jobs. You know, the government depends on those people to get a bit of an income in the private sector to actually just keep stuff a bit afloat. Government's already building houses for everybody. You know? So, interesting situation. It's not very good for South Africa. Really not good for South Africa. You know, the backbone of most countries is always farming and mining. It's always the base. And then everything expands from there. Factories and technology and services and all of that. So there you go. Very interesting, really interesting.